Hey readers, welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Paloma, and today's video are going to be the books on my July TBR. So let's get started. June was a pretty decent month for me in terms of reading. I managed to finish 2 books, which I count as a win. I finished YN by Esther Yee and Notes of a Native Son by James Baldwin. For the Notes of a Native Son by James Baldwin, I'm going to make a review video on that because I have a lot to say because I really enjoyed that book and I think it's still relevant to this day in terms of some of the stuff that James Baldwin talks about. For the books that I chose in July, 2 of them are crossovers from the months past because at this point, I don't think I'm going to finish them within the month. I think it's going to be a few months process, at least for one of them. And then the 2 other books that I chose for this month, they're shorter and a bit more condensed, just so that I can feel better about myself and saying that I finished these books. But I'm also really interested in what these stories have to say. So the first book is Passing by Nella Larson. If you've been on this channel before, I really enjoyed The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett, which is similar in theme to Passing because both books feature protagonists that pass as white people until they decide not to. I watched the Netflix version a couple years ago and I really enjoyed it, so I'm very interested to see how the book is, especially in comparison to the movie. When I read books that are adapted into movies, I like to see where the director or like the screenwriter decided to take away from the book because every interpretation of books and movies is different, but there's an overarching theme, especially if it's a book to movie adaptation. So I'm always interested to see what was taken out, what was brought in, what was improvised by the actor and or the director. And it's a condensed book, so I'm pretty sure maybe the director stuck through with it exactly how it is, or they might have made some changes and things like that. So I'm very excited to see. Then, in the spirit of summer, I have the summer book by Tove Jonsonn. I was very pleasantly surprised to find out Tove Jonsson is the creator of Moonman. I love Moonman. I think it's very cute. And so it was very surprising to me to find out that she has written books. I'm very curious as to how this book is going to be. I think it gets like a lot of praise for its themes. I wonder if it'll be similar to Foster by Claire Keegan because both books feature protagonists that are under the age of 10 that have to stay with someone much older than them. In Foster, the difference was that it was very distant family members and she was considered the quiet girl of the family and just needed some help and like some extra love. In this one, the girl is just spending a summer with her grandmother on this little island in Finland. So I don't know if they'll be similar, if they'll be like very similar, but I think thematically it'll be like the same where, you know, you have such a vast divide in age, but again, some feelings and things like that are quite similar. So I'm very excited to read this. I also used to spend the summers with my grandparents, especially when I was very young, and it really strengthened my bond with my grandmother. She's still alive today, and my grandfather, God rest his soul. Uh, those summers really brought us closer, and we still share a lot of similar things. We watch the same kind of TV and read the same kind of books. So it's a blessing to have your grandparents in your life and be able to spend time with them and to connect with them. The next book is Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. I'm slowly making my way through it. I think I've overcome the first hurdle, which was the introduction to everybody. It is a lot of characters, and Larry McMurtry loves to describe a lot, which is fine because I've read War and Peace, I've read Dostoevsky. They love to go on and on and on about things. So it's not that it was like exhausting. I was just like, we need to like pick up the pace and like start getting somewhere. And so now we're finally on the move to Montana. And now there's an extra set of characters because one of the characters, Jake, killed somebody in like a little small town. Now that sheriff is after him because the guy he killed was his brother. So I'm very curious if that sheriff is even going to make it to see Jake or even find him because it's really hard to find an outlaw, I guess. That's my personal opinion because there's so much land to cover and you don't know where he's going. He really has no clue where Jake could even be. So I'm very interested to see how that boils over. Then I have Girl, Woman, Other by Bernadine Evaristo. It almost feels like I didn't read much in the month of June, but I promise you I did. It's just a lot of book to cover, and there's a lot of characters. There's actually 12 characters to go through in this. I'm only on the second character. One thing that's really interesting about this book is the writing style. I think it's Sally Rooney, where she doesn't really use quotation marks. This is the same here. There's really not a lot of quotation marks. The only words that are capitalized are people's names. I was a bit thrown off by that at first because I'm such a traditional reader and writer. I'm gonna lean into the experience of it all because it is a contemporary novel, and you know, times change and writing styles change. So I'm trying to be a bit more open about it. I don't really want to be a stick in the mud. So other than that, I think the stories are deep enough where I can overlook the lack of quotation marks and capitalized letters. So, you know what? I'm having a blast with it. So I do think it's still a book worth reading if you're into that kind of writing style. Hopefully, July is a very good month for me. I already have expectations set for myself that I'm really not going to finish Girl, Woman, Other, or Lonesome Dove in that month. I don't really have high expectations. I'm gonna say I'm gonna finish those two books in at least August. I would like to think I would get through most of it to get to August, hopefully. But I am planning to finish the summer book and passing within July. I Yeah. Sometimes I hate being a slow reader, but I also really enjoy it because I like to take my time with the books and kind of really feel the themes that are coming through the page. So maybe that's just the romantic in me. I don't know. Then my job has a little like lending library. I personally don't lend my books. I just take from the lending library because for the most part, most of the books are just like business and like self-help books. So I'm just like, no, thank you. I don't need that. But sometimes you'll get winners like these where it's actually fiction books. So the first book I picked up was the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society. This has a movie on Netflix. I think I watched it. But because I watched it, I'm very interested to see what the book is like. I took a peek earlier and it looks like it's mostly like letter style. So I love when authors kind of take like a different approach to writing. Like it almost reminds me of like some of the books I used to read on like my Kindle in like middle school, where they would almost be like letter focused. So I'm very excited for that. Then we have Earthly Joys by Philippa Gregory. I have her other books, The Other Boleyn Girl and The White Queen. My coworker loves Philippa Gregory, but she also really loves the Tudor era, so she's read most of those things. So she told me that this has more of like a romantic tone than it does like a historical fiction kind of technical way about it. I'm fine with it. I love a bit of romance every once in a while, so I'm very interested to see what this will be like. I think this is the one I'm most excited about. This is Bronze Drum by Phong Nguyen. This is based on the true story of the Trung sisters, shared down through generations for thousands of years, about these warriors and champions of women in Vietnam who herald a new period of freedom and independence. I think this is going to be really great. I started getting into Vietnamese literature maybe about a couple years ago with The Mountain Sings. So I want to keep it going. I think this will be good. I'm very excited for it. So those are the books on my July TBR. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!